So good afternoon, good morning, everybody, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. I want to thank the organizers of the conference for this wonderful opportunity. Today, I'm going to be talking about lifelong learning and linking it to digital literacy and for the benefit of our students, integrating their tech tools and our teaching skills together. So these are the points I'm going to cover. And I do hope at the end to share a couple of tasks that I do with my students to ensure that this is achieved, the integration. Okay, first of all, this is exactly what's happening today in the 21st century. Our students, our children, everywhere, they are, they love their tech tools, they love their technology, and they are 24/7 using technology. It's quite a different setting from the past. So what do we need to do? We need to start thinking of the fact that there's a myth out there that our students are, tech savvy. They are digital natives, it's true. They spend their day on social media, it's true. But this does not mean that they are digitally literate. We're making a huge assumption, and it has impacted our teaching in a negative way, actually. And I'm hoping today I would briefly shed light on the issue and try to convince people to forget about the fact that our students are all day using their phones. We need to help them use their phones to learn, maybe. Okay, moving along. What I'm calling for is the establishment and the creation of a data-driven learning culture. Since technology is here, technology is going nowhere, and we need to make use of it in our teaching. Please note that I'm not only talking about COVID. I do hope COVID will fizzle away and then we'll go back to our normal lives, but I'm talking about the 21st century and technology in general. We need to create a learning culture that is data-driven. The questioning culture, of course, is very important, but we can do that using technology. The idea that the students, our teaching needs to be student-centered is great, but it also needs to be linked to technology. The idea that we need to encourage our students to teach each other and to learn from each other, since we all know that they learn from each other more than they learn from us, is also important, but it also needs to be linked to technology. Peer assessment, feedback, whether from the teacher or from the students, needs to be linked to technology. So why are we now calling for digital literacy? There are many types of literacies, of course, as you may all know. But what about digital literacy? Why is it important? Of course, the students need to function in the digital world. Whether they are studying face-to-face or online, they need to function in the digital world, do research in the digital world. They need to critically think about what they find online, whatever resources they access, whatever websites they access. Of course, for us, it's a vested interest. The learning becomes much easier if we introduce them to digital literacy, and we insist on it. Online, and using technology, there are many tools for self-assessment. The students can basically assess anything and everything they do in class, saving us, educators, time and effort. And of course, when they are digitally savvy, digitally literate, they can be more engaged in the learning process, since we're now all moving towards using a variety of tech tools to deliver our teaching. Students are going to be more engaged, and they will be able to solve many problems. Solve problems related to their own learning and our own teaching. If they find difficulty with something, they can basically be proactive, go online, engage in self-assessment, self-practice, self-evaluation, gradually walk through some material online to improve their learning, to fix their mistakes. And of course, and I keep saying this to my students, and they have become more aware of it, employability. This is the day and age where employers are not going to hire students who are not tech savvy. And I'm not just talking about social media, being able to do things online in the social media websites is something, and I'm talking about something else. I'm talking about learning online. So basically, our students use technology, yes, access social media, yes, but to do things that are totally unrelated to education, totally unrelated to knowledge, to research, to problem solving. And they're not going to do that unless we force them to do that. By force them, I mean encourage them, prod them, expect them to come up with, to do tasks, to engage in projects in which they problem solve, rely on technology, and learn things online. So what I'm calling for is bridging the gap between being able to use social media for individual purposes to education. So our 21st century way of teaching has changed, and this is even pre-COVID. Let's see what happened. We used to call the things that we give to students activities. Now they're called tasks, and they're interconnected. We used to teach face-to-face, and now we're doing, mostly screen-based learning due to COVID, and also before COVID, there was a lot of online teaching, online learning, and online courses. It used to be individual, now it's more collaborative. All the assessment, all the tasks, whether assessment or collaborative tasks, they are basically in groups. This individual student working alone is a thing of the past. We used to spoon feed. And I say that, and I was one of the people who used to do that. But now we want to encourage student autonomy and individualize, basically, let's say, taking responsibility for their own learning. Our tasks were tightly timed, and time sensitive. And students were not taught to be lifelong learners and realize the valuable goal that these skills are ongoing. And what they learn has to be for life, skills for life. Of course, the teacher was the sage on the stage, and the teaching was teacher-centered, and now we are facilitators. We encourage now self-assessment, assessment for learning, and in the past, we only did, tests and quizzes. So actually, the stage has changed. The scenarios have changed. And the students have changed as well. So I'm going to suggest 3 things that we can do. First of all, we need to build technology into our classroom as part of the teaching learning process. Technology is not a learning outcome. It's not an objective. It's a tool to help us teach our students. I'm also suggesting that we create a digital classroom community, that whatever tool, I'm not here to advertise tools or suggest any tools, but there has to be an outside community besides the limited classroom, whether it's virtual or face-to-face. I'm talking about having maybe a chat, a Google chat or a Google Hangout, or even WhatsApp, so that there's an ongoing source of communication. And of course, I am hoping that all our digital experiences that we give our students are engaging and interesting enough to take them away from Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and maybe try to chat with each other in English, practice their English, and talk about their assignments, their tasks, their collaborative tasks. Okay, so we want them also not only to use technology, but to create using technology, to design and to share. These are 3 very important items that we need to keep in mind, and with the goal of problem solving, learning, and being tech savvy and digitally aware and digitally literate means we can problem solve using technology. So first of all, we need to carefully choose our web tools. The time spent to curate videos, infographics, texts, podcasts is time well spent. And then we need to have a platform, a place to link things in it and use it as the resource that students access. okay? Maybe it could be a Blackboard course. It could be a Moodle course. It could be even a Google site, okay? And maybe, I do hope, a Facebook page for our students, for our classes, for our class, a blog, a wiki, so that we are trying to simulate what happens in their other life, their alternate life on social media. And finally, there's always need for evaluation, giving students feedback. Thank you. Reflecting on what their experience, revising their practices online, seeing whether they've learned or not, self-assessing. Now, our goal is to be creative, and our goal is to teach them also not to fear technology when it comes to education and learning. And in the mix, we have to teach them about ethical practices online, how to use online information, academic integrity, etiquette, things like that. And of course, to be safe online and to protect their data, to collaborate and be safe. So what I'm trying to say is we want to create a tech-savvy culture where students get a variety of choices, they collaborate, and finally, never forget that at the end of each task, we need to debrief in the form of reflection. I'm a big fan of reflection, and I use it all the time. It can be oral and it can be written. For example, I like to mirror what happens in the real world, the social media world, where we use emojis. The students use emojis all the time. I use emojis all the time. So I have them do something like that. Select emojis, create their own story, and give it a title. And after that, they write out the story in their, in English, in sentences, in a paragraph, and share the story in 10 minutes. It's cool. It's nice. The students also give feedback to each other using emojis. And I'm trying to encourage them to express their emotions and feeling using the medium that they use, emojis. Another thing is, as I said before, we need to teach our students to be responsible online, and the culture of being online is wide, and they have to learn the ethics of that culture. The idea of fake news. And also, of course, part of my work at AUC, the American University in Cairo, is basically doing a lot of research. The students do a lot of projects, and they access data and information online. And this is the first thing I would like to teach them, is to realize or find out whether the sources are reliable. Do they compare with our knowledge of the world? Does it make sense? Can it be verified? Is it current? Who wrote it? Why they wrote it? So even if the task is not about fake news, you need to basically introduce the idea and tell them that this is something this should be on their mind. The idea that they need to check their sources, to check the platform where they found the sources and why it's there, who wrote it and whatnot. This is part of telling them about the culture outside. So what is the future? What is our future? We're trying to teach, whether online or face-to-face, but we need to realize that the future is full of technology, whether we like it or not. In fact, maybe if there were a silver lining to COVID, is the fact that more and more teachers are becoming familiar with technology, able to use technology, and are tech savvy, are beginning to be tech savvy to deal with the fact that we can't teach our students face-to-face anymore. The other thing in the future is that, I'm trying to predict the future here, but I think we all share the same vision, that the students can no longer be passive learners, just consumers of knowledge. And since they are out there in the social media world, we should maximize the use of social media tools, tech tools. The students need to be lifelong learners, because to be employable today in the 21st century, they need the skills to be able to survive in the digital world. These skills are skills that would enable them also to be lifelong learners. What we teach them, whether English or subject matter, like content area topics, they become obsolete very quickly. So they need to be learning the skills to be lifelong learners. Here are my references, and I thank you very much. Over to you, Kristen. Thank you.
Thank you so much.